Hello and welcome to another session of Karen's Colours. I'm Dr. Karen and these are my colour conversations. This is another one of those monthly readings, only this time we're going to be looking at September. As usual, we'll be looking at each of your birth months for September, and as we go through, if you haven't been here before, then you might find something that's quite different from the usual sorts of predictions that are made on YouTube. If you are a regular viewer, then welcome back. I hope that your August went as it should have, and if you used the colours that were missing to incorporate those into your lives, then maybe, just maybe, it was a better August for you than it might otherwise have panned out. I'm particularly thankful to you for attending these sessions because I really am still in the experimental stage, wondering whether or not these are worthwhile. But they're fun to do, and I hope you enjoy them as well. So let's get started. For September's readings, I've chosen an oracle card from the Gabrielle Bernstein's The Universe Has Your Back. It's a new season, and so we should have some interesting stuff coming to us from the universe. And hopefully those messages will resonate with you and consolidate some of the reading as we go along. And here we have a reading for people born in the month of March for September 2025. And we'll begin with an oracle card to see how it impinges upon the colour reading. And no, my shuffling hasn't improved any, I'm afraid. All right. So let's take this top card, only the one, thank you, and pop it under here for later. And now I want a colour reading for people born in the month of March to see how September 2025 will evolve for them. As usual, I've reshuffled the cards because I need to. And, right, that'll do. Let's have a look. So, a colour reading for people born in March for September 2025. All right, the energy that you bring into September is purple on pink. Throughout the month of September, it will be cyan on red, and you leave September with orange on cyan, and the underlying energy is white on purple. Now, there are two colours that are repeated here. We have purple as the energy of what you're actually doing that comes in from the past, and it's also the need, drive, or motivation from the underlying energy throughout the entire month. As well as that, we have cyan, which appears as the action in the majority of the month, and then reverts down into being the motivator for what it is that you take with you out into the future. So, how do we start here? Well, the underlying energy permeates throughout the entirety of the month. And in this case, it's white on purple. Purple is a need, a desire for healing. It's a desire for change in terms of massive disruption. So it's destructive as well as creative. And in the real world, what happens here is that creativity, that destruction, heads off in all sorts of different directions, and there is no actual clarity as to where it's going to end up. Of note is that this energy is in the tarot, the energy associated with the card known as the devil. So it's about being confined to a particular way of doing things. There's an addictive element here. I want things to heal, I want things to get better, but in the real world, what am I doing? Nothing that will actually help. all I'm doing is creating more need for things to change. And in the real world, I'm scattering that energy in all directions. So there is a sameness, a repetition here of things going round and round and round in circles. Over here in the past, you've had that same purple energy as an action this time, though. And here the action is one of creating that change in reality by destroying what was and creating something new in its place. Now, that's a great deal of fun energy, actually, because it enables you to play with things. And purple in the real world is often associated with play. Internally, there has been this lack of energy, but also a sweetness, a baby energy. And purple on pink has to do with having a great deal of fun playing with reality rather than going in any specific direction. Now, of course, by playing with energy, you're also taking on an awfully big load because you're not being able to use any or gather up enough energy internally to make those changes permanent. In the tarot, purple on pink actually stands for the 10 of Wands. So it's the end of a cycle. It's the end of your inspiration. You've run out of energy that allows you to create something new and solid in your life. You've been overburdened. You've had enough. And so this energy that's coming from the past is one of absolute exhaustion. And the exhaustion is the pink, and the burden is the purple. Now, if we add this to the underlying energy, if we take the purple of the actions here, of the playing, and the need to heal down here, that destruction and creation energy is actually magnified. And in the tarot, this combination, purple over purple, is the Tower. It's destruction of what was. So not only is there an exhaustion here from having carried too many burdens, too many ideas, too many inspirations, none of which have gone anywhere substantial, we now have destruction of that entirely. As well as that, we have another interesting tarot combination, and this time it's white on pink, which is justice. So you're getting what you deserve as a result of having overburdened yourself, and everything is now tumbling down around your feet, and that's it. You can now let the past go. That's the message that's involved in what is happening here with the underlying energy and what you bring with you into September from the past. So where are you now? Where will you be in the middle? Well, having now let go, you can now replenish your energy. And in fact, you go from pink as the underlying energy to red as the underlying energy. And now you are developing your power. You are coming into a state in which you are able to virtually have unlimited energy to do what? Well, in the real world, it's to create peace and harmony and all of those wonderful contentment things that allow you to feel like you are in clover. Life is going to be wonderful. And for you throughout the month of September, it's going to feel a bit like that, except that there is still an element of frustration that occurs as a result of everything also being so quiet, so organized, so well established, that even contentment becomes a disruptor of your contentment, which is really an odd thing to say. But here we have cyan and red, which are almost opposites on the color wheel. They are very, very close to it. And in fact, if you look at the colors in terms of what we use for computer languages, they are the opposites. And so here we have a situation where you're swinging from peace and harmony and everything wonderful and in its place down to, oh, jumping out of my skin. I've got to make something. I've got to do something. What? More peace and harmony and contentment and quiet and solitude. But I've got all this energy. Right? Now, the underlying energy impinging upon this brings us to a slightly different view of things. If we have cyan over purple, we have this need or drive for making disruptive changes, resulting in you being able to take control of them to the extent where they damp down. Cyan on purple is the tarot reading for the Nine of Cups. Here we have someone who has virtually everything that they want in order to create the love, the harmony, the good feelings within themselves that enable them to feel as though their emotional journeys are almost at an end. They've done it all, and now the rewards are there for them. On the other hand, you could also go the route of the white over red. White in the real world, indicating that energy is going everywhere. Red in the internal world means that there's a build-up of frustration, a build-up of energy, a build-up actually of anger as well. And that too resonates with a tarot card. This time it's the 10 of Swords. So we've got a 9 and a 10 working here. The 10 of Swords is absolute end of whatever it is that was before. Intellectually, you will feel as though you have done it all, you've seen it all, you know it all, and you don't want to take on any more information. It's the end of the journey of mental energy. It's exhausted. But here, everything is looking really wonderful. So how do we reconcile these? Well, we reconcile them by the fact that the cyan and red are opposites. So they're swinging backwards and forwards between absolute contentment, absolute frustration, absolute wonderful life, absolute too much energy and not being able to do anything with it. Down here, we have this devil energy that causes you to want to completely repeat, come backwards, come back, do it again. And that's what is impinging upon these two sets of colors and makes life interesting, if nothing else, for the month of September, for those of you born in March. Coming into the future, that cyan, that contentment, that peace, that stability, but also the stagnation that comes with everything in its place all the time and nothing changing, now becomes a need, a drive, a motivation for peace. You've had enough. This has been an exhausting journey. Intellectually, you're wiped out, and physically, even though everything has come your way emotionally, physically, you've had enough. So now you have a drive towards just settle things down. But in order to do so, you need to get out there and confront whatever this was all about. Whatever it was that intellectually exhausted you now has to be confronted and overcome. When we take the underlying energy and add that to it, we find a slightly different situation taking place. Here we have orange over purple. Orange in the real world is that confrontation energy that causes you to stand up, be counted, fight for what it is you believe in, and overcome to survive. Purple, on the other hand, is also a color of change and confrontation, but this time the confrontation is all about destroying what was and creating something different. So both of them are colors of massive change, massive disruption, massive alteration to what is, this time coming as a drive for new things, more fun, more life, different sort of existence, and the actions of, well, I have to fight for it. On the other hand, you could have white over cyan. White over cyan is about creating peace and harmony, or desiring peace and harmony, but creating nothing. There is a lack of ability to get the sort of harmony that you want because your energy is going in all sorts of different directions. It's heading away rather than coming towards you. So you find yourself having to simply settle for whatever it is that life is throwing at you. So whatever experiences there are, and these experiences are unknown. You have no option but to simply live through them, and you have to allow them to simply allow you to settle because you have no other choice. And again, it has to do with this devil energy. Whereas cyan and red are opposites, cyan and orange are very close to being opposite. So it's a slightly more intellectual, because that's what the orange has. It's got a little bit of yellow in it. So it's a slightly more intellectual way of dealing with pretty much the same issues that you've got here. They're being dealt with there in the future. So in order to deal with this in a way that is more beneficial to you, let's look at the colors that are missing. Well, there is no black, but you do have white. You have red. There's no yellow, even though it's hidden here. You don't have any green or blue or brown, but you do have orange. Whoops, let's one at a time, please. There's no grey. You have purple. There's no, you do have pink, sorry, and you do have cyan. Right, well, these 6 colours involve the skills and attributes that you carry with you throughout the month of September. They're quite bright, they're vibrant, and they work well together when they're not trying to oppose one another. What is missing here are these colours. Now, these ones indicate those skills and attributes that you're not currently using and really need to consider as a way of alternately dealing with your issues throughout the month. So we have here black, the need to take time out, recuperate, think about things by getting in touch with your inner self, learning something new, remembering what it is that you have learned, and also maintaining a positive, optimistic outlook, taking chances, grabbing opportunities, making your values count for something, being responsible, nurturing, caring, making sure that you have everything lined up the way it should be in order to carry out a stable life. Brown is about goals, ambitions, practical skills. What do you need to learn that will enable you to carry out the things that you want out of your life? And finally, grey is dealing with uncertainty and confusion by allowing the fog of whatever it is that is impinging upon you to gradually dissipate. Grey is important as a colour because it allows you to head in any direction without necessarily knowing where you're going. So it requires trust. So whichever of these colours is most appealing and whichever is least appealing, I suggest that you take them on, use them throughout the month, and let's see where that takes you, because it certainly won't allow this devil energy to take hold and drag you back to where you were to start off with. Let's have a look at the oracle card and see what it has to say on the subject. The universe works fast when I'm having fun. Well, that's interesting because one of the colours that is repeated here is purple, and purple in its best aspect is having fun. And when we have fun, it's because we have lots of energy. We are vulnerable to allowing ourselves to be silly and playful, and that fun will lead to contentment. So allow the universe to move fast. And there you have it, your birthday month as it plays out for September 2025. I hope that these readings are useful to you to help guide you through the various different decisions that need to be made and the activities that accompany those decisions But if it doesn't resonate immediately, perhaps come back in a week or so, because you never know just how these things tend to play out. And often we don't recognize them unless they are in retrospect. As I mentioned at the start, I pre-shuffle all the cards, and if you want to know how I go about doing this, I will attach a link to the video that explains that down below in the show notes. But if you've got any comments to make, any ideas that either support or even refute the sort of information that I'm handing out here, please leave them in the comments. I'm more than happy to engage. After all, a discussion isn't a discussion. A conversation is not a conversation when there's only one person doing the talking. So for September, I wish you all the best. I hope your colours work for you. I certainly use mine. Mine this month were all about to stop, settle back, and reorganize. And as you can see from the way in which I've presented this month's sessions, I've done a little bit of just that. So until next time, may your colours guide you to a wonderfully fulfilling life. Bye.